And joining us now is the Democratic governor of the state of Kentucky, Andy Beshear. Governor, thanks for being with us. First, your reaction to the news that came down yesterday of President Biden stepping aside. And secondly, do you endorse Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket?
Well, thank you for having me this morning. I want to thank President Biden for being a phenomenal president. He led us out of a pandemic faster than we have ever seen. He showed up in Kentucky after natural disasters and has helped us rebuild. He's helped us build the best economy in our history, building the 2 largest battery plants on planet Earth, the cleanest, greenest recycled paper mill we've ever seen, creating jobs all over Kentucky and providing the funding to run internet access to every home and every business. His decision, I know, was hard, but it's going to secure his legacy that I believe historians are going to say was a great presidency. With that, I'm excited to fully endorse Vice President Harris as for the next president of the United States. The vice president is smart and strong, which will make her a good president, but she's also kind and has empathy, which can make her a great president. And the contrast between her and those running on the other side couldn't be clearer. As a prosecutor, as an attorney general like I used to be, she prosecuted rapists, domestic abusers, stood for victims, and put away those abusers. Now look at the other side, where J.D. Vance calls pregnancy arising from rape inconvenient. No, it's just plain wrong. He suggests that women should stay in abusive relationships. Listen, a domestic abuser isn't a man, he's a monster, and no one should support anyone having to stay in those relationships. So the vice president is ready. She has my full endorsement. I'm going to do everything I can to support her.
All right, some news this morning here. Full endorsement from Governor Beshear of Vice President Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket. As you know very well, Governor, because of your record of being elected and reelected as a Democrat in the state of Kentucky, which Donald Trump won in 2020 by about 26 points, people are very interested in you and your future in politics. Has anyone reached out to you from the new Harris campaign about the potential for being the vice presidential candidate, her running mate?
Well, I don't know how that process is going to work. It's flattering to be a part of it. You know, I take it as a compliment, though, to what we've done in Kentucky. You know, what we've done in Kentucky is what we need to do in this country. It's to move beyond the partisanship, the constant arguing, get beyond neighbors yelling at other neighbors just because of the box they checked when they registered to vote. We need to turn the temperature down and recognize that the most important things to our families, like a good job, health care, safe infrastructure, public safety, public education, none of those are partisan at all. And if we work hard every single day to make progress in those areas, we help all our citizens, not just Democrats, not just Republicans. And this country's has gotten to a boiling point where we just have to move past it. We've got to move to something better. We've got to get back to being Americans and not members of a political party. I believe that that the vice president will win this election. She will move us in that direction, and that's why I'm very excited to provide my full endorsement to her.
And so, Governor, would you then be open to the possibility of being a running mate to Vice President Harris?
Well, let me first say I love my job. I love serving the people of Kentucky. The only way I would consider something other than this current job is if I believed I could further help my people and to help this country. I also think, whether I'm asked for that or not, that it's important to be out there, contrasting the vice president and those that she is running against. I believe her record is one of standing up for people, is fighting for the American people, and the record on the other side is just fighting for themselves.
So as vice president, you undoubtedly would be able to help your own people. So are you at least open to the possibility of being a running mate to Vice President Harris?
Well, I think if somebody calls you on that, what you do is at least listen. And I want the American people to know what a Kentuckian is and what they look like, because let me just tell you that J.D. Vance ain't from here. The nerve that he has to call the people of Kentucky, of Eastern Kentucky, lazy. Listen, these are the hardworking coal miners that powered the Industrial Revolution, that created the strongest middle class the world has ever seen, powered us through 2 world wars. We should be thanking them, not calling them lazy. And so today was an opportunity to both support the vice president, but also to stand up for my people. Nobody calls us names, especially those that have worked hard for the betterment of this country.
So, Governor, you've been able to win election there in a state that overwhelmingly went for Donald Trump. So with that in mind, what should some of the messages be from the Democratic ticket going forward, whether you're on it or not, as it tries to paint this contrast with Donald Trump?
Well, what we've got to do is have a message for everyone. What we see from former President Trump are division and trying to rile one group up against others. My faith tells me that's wrong. Golden Rule says we love our neighbor as ourselves, and the parable of the Good Samaritan says everyone is our neighbor. So how about a unifying message that can bring people together and move us past this boiling point in our country? How about we focus on the things that matter most to people when they wake up in the morning? Because when people wake up in the morning, they're thinking about their job and whether they make enough money to support their family. They're thinking about their next doctor's appointment for themselves, their parents, their kids. They're thinking about the roads and bridges they're going to drive on that day. They're thinking about the public safety in their community, and they're thinking about the school they're dropping their kids off at. That's what most people worry about. And if we can't satisfy that, they don't get to whatever the issue of the day is in Washington, D.C. The message ought to be, I'm in this to build a better life for everyone, not just Democrats, not just Republicans. I run as a proud Democrat, but the moment I became Attorney General and Governor, I took that hat off and I serve every single citizen of my Commonwealth. And that's why in re-election, I was reelected by 5 percentage points, being a Democrat in Kentucky. That's like 30 anywhere else. But I think it's just people saw who I am and how hard I was trying. And that whether you voted for me or not, I wanted to make your life better. That's what we need to hear from our candidates. And that's what Vice President Harris can do. People want to get back to normalcy. They want to be able to wake up in the morning and check the news, but not have to worry about what crazy thing happened the other day or what crazy thing somebody said. They want to be able to put their kids in front of the TV and not worry about what a former president will say and the language that he'll use. That's who we are as an American people, and that's what we want to get back to.
I think you're making a great point, Governor, in your endorsement of Kamala Harris, and I want to ask you more about that. You said earlier, and I thought it was very interesting, we need to get back to becoming Americans. And to your point, what has become partisan in the past few years, or since Trump became president, since he served, is democracy. The concept of democracy. Trump Republicans ignore so much, and they spew out a lot of disinformation, and all of it is working against our democratic values. So who do you hope in this election? Is it really about Democrat and Republican, or is it about democracy? Who do you hope will step up and support the Democratic nominee, and you hope it'll be Kamala Harris? Is it important in this moment to cross the aisle even, to really make this about the future of our democracy as we know it? Whether it be George W. Bush or military leaders along with the Obamas and the Clintons, how much, Governor, is at stake in this election?
Well, a lot is at stake. And let me say it's always important to cross the aisle because those are our neighbors. Those are our friends, and we can't let ourselves become so divided because we checked a box that said D or R when all of us are unique. We're made up of the experiences of our lives, and we have different views, even if we're a member of a same party. And so we've got to make sure that we have that dialogue, and we've got to give people the ability, the permission to vote for whoever they think is going to be the best candidate. Mm-hmm. Partisanship is now everywhere. From the car you drive to the beer you drink, you're supposed to pick a side, and we just can't continue that. And that's why I think that the vice president can give a compelling message about being better, For me, that's certainly about my faith, and it's about living my faith and caring about absolutely everyone. And so this election, especially with the contrast of such a divisive figure like former President Trump, who spews anger, that we can create a contrast that hopefully not only wins this election, but moves us past all this craziness we've been living in. I want a better world for my kids. I want better government for my kids. I want a Congress that works, but I certainly want a president that they can sit in front of the TV and watch. And whether I agree or disagree with what they're talking about, I know they'll do it in a respectful way.
Yeah, I think it's a good point that you want to be able to put your kids in front of the TV and not be worried what's going to come out of the president's mouth. Kentucky's Democratic Governor Andy Beshear, you really crystallized it. Thank you very much for coming on the show this morning, making news this morning here on Morning Joe.